Hey there, fellow Marvelites. It's an absolute thrill to be back with more Ultimate Spider-Man after a brief hiatus on my end. We've got a lot of catching up to do, with issues 2 and 3 already out at the time of recording. Apologies for the delay. Life got in the way. That was all good stuff. I got a promotion. It moved my schedule around a little bit, but now things have kind of settled. I'm back now. I'm ready to dive into the world of Ultimate Spider-Man with you all again. So, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. Ultimate Spider-Man has released 2 whole issues since I last made a video, and I'll be talking about both in one video as kind of a way of getting back on track. I don't think I'll recap both so much as talk about the series overall. I'm still going to provide story bits and spoilers, but I won't go through both comics with as much of a fine-tooth comb as I did in the first video. Avengers Twilight has also had a lot of issues drop since I last talked about it. It's been something, so I'll probably finish that series as well, just for the madness of it all. But today we're here to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 2 and 3 specifically. But first, let's go get current reviews and recommendations for the last 2 issues. Reviews and recommendations on my end. It probably won't shock you to know I 100% recommend both. Hickman has continued to show himself as the breath of life that Spider-Man, the character, needed. I love the stuff he's setting up in this universe. Between the Goblin angle and the boys, it's all good stuff. However, I do have one caveat. If you're going into this comic because of the Mary Jane and Peter situation, please be aware that patience is key. I won't get deeper into it outside of spoilers, but be aware that we're still in the world building setup phase of this series and the universe. Because of that, some aspects might not be as fleshed out as one might hope, but again, it's still good stuff. Both issues are solid A's for me. Maybe a bit of an A- just based on the aforementioned patience with the Mary Jane and Peter situation. There's a reason this comic is selling so well, and if you haven't picked it up yet, you're sleeping on an excellent comic. But what do I like most about this series? Well, in order to discuss that, dear listener, we need to slide into spoilers. So, again, A+, A-, well, A or A-. I do wish there was just a little bit more of the thing we'll talk about in spoilers, but, you know, that's just me. But anyways, this is your last chance to get out of here. Spoiler warning, don't let the door hit you on the way out. This is your 1 minute spoiler warning, and I am moving on now. Bye-bye. Okay, now let's talk about some of the stuff I really, really like. While I do really wish Mary Jane was more involved in the comic so far, I do love that the first in the family to find out is his daughter. It happens after he runs into his first supervillain. They made the excellent choice of going with Shocker. A very chonky Shocker too. So chonky he will be henceforth known as Chonkler. Chonkler and Peter face off a few times. This comic does an excellent job setting the pace of Peter's evolution into a hero. Every issue so far has moved the storyline a month forward. That way we can give Peter a chance to learn about his powers and capabilities without moving too far forward, where he already has a handle on everything. He's testing out his powers, but he hasn't mastered them yet. He also hasn't decided on a costume yet, so he's running around in an all-black suit, which is also fun. It leads to some fantastic dialogue with his daughter, since the Bugle has been running pictures of him and she's scared of the black suit. When she finds out that her dad is the black-suited man, she promises to help him with his costume. That comes to fruition in issue 3, when Peter finally gets his classic costume, and it looks amazing. The setup for all of this is so good. Peter tests his powers, Chonkler shows up, and his daughter discovers his secret identity, all in one issue. Again, we don't get much of the other Parker brood in the second issue or the third, but Peter and his daughter are having fun and being cute AF together. But let's get back to Chonkler for a second. Those initial fights show us that Peter is destined to be a snarky superhero no matter what. He quips and teases Chonkler hard in those initial fights. It's kind of hilarious how easily Hickman has him slip into his usual teasing, joking role. He pokes fun at Chonkler and gives far too much of his life story to the criminal. Classic Peter stuff. But again, Hickman does an excellent job of balancing out the Peter we know with his greenness. In the case of the Chonkler, our old friend keeps pulling the wool over Peter's eyes in their interactions together. He convinces Peter the first time that they interact that he's going to turn over a new leaf. The second time, he gives Peter a sob story about his wife dying and him needing the money, and this Chunkler is just robbing banks, as per his usual kind of MO. Peter believes both of those lies, and it allows Chunkler to sucker punch him. So Chunkler gets away unscathed. This means Peter's first defeat goes to an entirely different villain in issue 3. Our newly costumed older Spider decides to go on a stakeout to figure out what is going on with the Goblin and Kingpin. He stakes out a fist building and stumbles upon a fight between Bullseye and the Goblin. This fight is so good. Peter and Harry, we find that out for sure at the end of the issue, are clearly out of their depths. Bullseye is a trained killer who whips both of them handedly. It's been pretty clear Peter doesn't have a spider sense yet, and that means he's taking punches left and right. It's only by working together that the two of them manage to defeat Bullseye. And that's where things get interesting. So Harry captures Bullseye and takes him off somewhere. We have no idea where, hasn't been revealed yet, but apparently Harry is just capturing people and taking them off to somewhere. Then he hacks into Peter's suit and uses it to disengage Peter's mask. We get confirmation that Harry is running around with Stark Tech and hints that he's playing by strange rules. I can't wait to discover what Harry is keeping people like Bullseye in. Maybe he's got his own raft? Harry outs Peter, but then outs himself. He says the world is a strange and dangerous place these days, and asks Peter if he wants to get a drink and talk about it. And Peter says sure. And that's where we're at so far with Peter's story. This absolutely amazing origin story, pun intended, that feels like a Peter Parker story while also being something new, is just, it's so good. Like, I really cannot say enough how much I'm enjoying it. I love especially how we're setting up his journey to become Spider-Man. And we'll close Peter out for there. But with the following question he asked himself in issue 2. If the life you had stolen from you 2 years ago was suddenly given back to you, are you obligated to try and relive some version of it? And if you did decide to relive it, wouldn't you be 20 years behind the curve? No, I can't answer that, Mr. Parker, but I can confirm that you're not that far behind the curve at all. But as you guys know, Peter isn't our only main character, and we have to talk about our favorite journalistic couple, the boys. And boy oh boy, do we have some spicy stuff to talk about in these issues. Starting with the two of them and their date to a Russian-Turkish bathhouse. This business meeting begins with some lovely flirting from the two of them. Oh, you two and your PDA. Adorable. Of course, these two steel stallions get down to business right away. They talk about their soon-to-be news empire and their first story. They're intent on breaking the truth about Fisk. Their best story involves the Goblin's multiple assassination attempts on Fisk. They correlate that it's the same guy that has been attacking Fisk for 3 weeks. They correctly guess that the Bugle isn't going to run the story and will instead keep reporting about Peter in his black suit. They briefly reveal that Peter is taking pictures of himself in the black suit, keeping in theme with the, usual Peter Parker story. They also talk about him eventually working for them when they open. But they don't have a name or even, building at that point for their new news outfit. They correctly remark that Peter and his black suit are just distractions and that the Goblin is the real story. The boys walk out hand in hand, not really, but it's implied, to make their mark on the world. And no, it's not implied. Or they would if they finally decided on a name. What they do get is an office. It's a shitty looking office that they affectionately call a dump, but it's an office. It's a real greatness from small beginnings office setup. Peter is their first visitor when he stops by to give them a plant from MJ. He finds their evidence board and gets leverage into revealing what the Bugle is up to behind the scenes. They give him the idea to go stake out one of Fisk's operations, which leads to the Goblin and Bullseye fight. There's one last thing I want to highlight, and that's the art. It is so freaking good. Look at some of these panels. Talk about some chef's kiss. I love the costume look as well. It's probably the best looking recent take on Peter's costume since the classic suit in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I can't get enough of it. Alright, that's going to be it for me in this video. If you like my mouth and the things coming out of it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For now, this has been the Multiversal Archivist. Keep calm and don't step into a laundromat with a mummy.